Yep, we are getting new skins that are based on the story of League of Legends. Which is something we haven't heard in a while, unless we count the arcane skins, which technically should be just the base versions of the champions now. Anyway, throughout its history, League actually got a few skins that are based on canon lore. For example, Freljordian Sylas was based on a story that happened to Sylas when he was in Freljord. Or how Captain Fortune is actually what she looks like when she is in Bilgewater. Or even stuff like Ruined Gangplank, which is pretty much just Gangplank in the Ruined King game. Not to mention the big ones like King Viego, which is literally just Viego before he got ruined. And now I have a bit of a suspicion that Riot finally realized that people are interested in the universe of Runeterra, and that the skins based on the canonical lore can do well too. I mean, that's what happened to that one Yasuo skin that was based on the cinematic. And so, with the new seasonal system, which Riot confirmed will also give us new canon lore, they also released a bunch of new skins that are also within the story that is being told here. Which means, from now on, with every season, we have a new job to do. We can explain the story. But keep in mind that as we are getting these new skins within the new themes, one of them will always be free. Because Riot confirmed that one of these skins will be part of the free Battle Pass. And it seems like it will be one of the skins with the lowest value. But we'll get to that. Now, as of right now, we are not sure about the overall storyline that is gonna happen here. We simply know it will focus on something that's happening in Noxus. However, the skins that got released here already got their story descriptions. So now we know why these champions are here. In fact, what is important to mention here is that it seems like these are not what-if scenarios. These don't seem to be skins that show us what would happen if these champions were recruited by the Black Rose. No, it seems like these champions really attended an event that was put up by the Black Rose. You'll see what I mean by this in a second. But still, take all of this with a pinch of salt. After all, the story is here to technically sell the skins, so sometimes the champions will have things that are themed after the Black Rose, as well as them just having new VFX, which is them just shooting thorns and stuff. Does that canonically make sense? Nope. So some of these parts are there just because the skins have to make sense as a cosmetic that is purchasable. So with all of this said, everyone keeps asking the same question. What is Ezreal doing here? Well, you'd be surprised to know that Ezreal's appearance was actually foreshadowed by a story that came very long time ago. But again, we'll get to that. First, we have to have a look at the skins themselves, and we should mention how can you even get them. So, the skin line is called the Mask of the Black Rose, hinting at what the skin line is about. The first thing I want to point out here is that the splash arts are gorgeous. So first we have Katarina, who is ready to fight. This is actually a moment that is part of the story. Then there is Renata, a surprising addition that actually has some cool background here. Of course there is Samira, whose lore is entirely rooted around the Black Rose. Elise, who is directly a member of the cult, who also has a godly art. Then there is Vladimir, who is one of the founding members of the Black Rose. And fun fact, it seems like this one is using the updated visuals that we got in Wild Rift. It's the one where Vladimir looks younger because he's being sustained off of blood. Specifically, it's the moment that happened in his old cinematic. And yes, last but not least, there is also Ezreal, who might be a bit of a mystery for now. But yes, all of these champions have surprisingly close ties to the Black Rose. But you know, a splash art can only carry you so far. So now, let's have a look at the models in-game. In fact, let's start with the free skin that everyone can get from the free pass. Mask of the Black Rose Elise. At first glance, you may notice that this skin is not too bad. I mean, it is using the base recall that Elise has, which is fine. But that's because it is supposed to be the 975 RP level. Those skins usually don't get much besides a new model and just a recaller of the spell effects. But here, Elise actually got some new ones. But it's still nothing too crazy. And yes, I will say the human form looks really good. The spider form, however, is slightly more simple. But it all still perfectly fits inside the Black Rose theme. So honestly, for a free skin that is entirely new and which is based on the theme of the new season, it is surprisingly really good. And funnily enough, it is better than something like the Vladimir skin, which also comes from the past, but he comes from the paid version. But thankfully, you should get him somewhere earlier on. Now at first glance, I will have to say, yes, this skin looks somewhat similar to a skin he already has. It's Count Vladimir, which is just black and very old. I mean, base Vladimir is like 10 years old now. And yes, that age is starting to show. So at least the new version has great details. And yes, there are also new spell effects. Fun fact, because base Vladimir doesn't really have a recall, neither does this one. But thematically, the skin is fine. It's just that Vladimir himself is quite outdated. Now another skin that also comes from the paid pass, although this one comes from the very end, is the new Katarina skin. The thing is, this is a prestige skin, even though it doesn't seem like there are any base versions of this skin on PBE. So the prestige version is just the base version. It's just called prestige because it seems like it comes from the very end of the pass. Anyway, this is as much of a Katarina skin as you can get. It looks fine, the spell effects are fine, and surprisingly the daggers are so long they look more like swords, but that's like every other Katarina skin. And yeah, that's really it. I don't really have much to say about this one, it's just fine. But then there is Renata, another skin from the paid pass. And the point of this one is very simple. It is just Renata as if she dressed for a Noxian party, which is exactly what you can see. It is the character we know, but she's trying to fit in with the Noxians. And honestly, I think Riot nailed that theme. And once again, the spell effects also fit the theme really well, but yes, take it with a pinch of salt. I don't think Renata is supposed to shoot out thorns and stuff. This is then followed by Samira, which is yet another skin from the pass. And I'll be honest, this is one of the simplest ones. I know that Samira is supposed to be flashy, which is why it's weird that she's not really that flashy here, but maybe that's just in comparison to all the other skins that she already has. So yeah, this one is fine. And lastly, we also get Ezreal, who gets the only skin that is not available from the pass. This one is actually bought separately, so the quality should be slightly higher than the rest. So yes, he did even get his own recall animation. And here it is hinting that yeah, here Ezreal is not too afraid of yoinking something from the Black Rose. And it also shows us a bit of the setup for what kind of a story is happening here. They are at a festival after all. Other than that, the spell effects are very Black Rosy. There are roses and thorns and it's all kinda light red. And with Ezreal being all about spell effects, if you like this, you're gonna like the skin. If not, this is just slightly more emo Ezreal, I guess. But yes, since it is a skin that you buy separately, of course, it also does get chroma versions. But that's really it for the skins themselves. They look fine. This is all gonna depend on whether you like the theme or not. But now, it is time to actually dive into the lore. Because as I said, all of these got their own lore description that mentions what's happening here. And ironically, Ezreal got the coolest one. So just to set up the setting, the overall story arc is that this season it seems like the Black Rose is inviting important people for a party, which they call the Silken Dance. And of course, it is all likely done with the sole purpose of recruiting more people into the Black Rose. And this is likely because the Black Rose is still trying to deal with Swain. And the one who is sending out the invitations to the Silken Dance is none other than Elise herself, a member of the Black Rose. So let's start with the lore description of Elise herself. Lady Elise, I trust preparations for the Silken Dance are proceeding smoothly. A fine mistress of ceremonies you shall be. You must be. Your houses have weaved a vast web, but Gossamer is delicate, especially with the rise of the new Grand General. Be vigilant. Let no thorn pierce our flowers. The ladder is stamped with a rose symbol. So yes, this is most likely LeBlanc who is telling Elise to invite everyone for the Silken Dance. And since they mentioned the new Grand General, they are likely talking about Swain. Which means, funnily enough, this is all likely happening after Arcane, which is when Swain goes back to Noxus and he establishes the new leadership. In fact, it seems like the specific point in time is when Swain got back into Noxus as the new Grand General after killing Borem Darkwill, but it is before he established the Triforix, which is the new leadership. So now I'm curious to see what the heck is gonna happen in this story. Anyway, then we get Renata's story. To the esteemed Renata Glask, the noble houses of Noxus invite you to our nation as a guest at the Silken Dance. Here we gather enterprising minds. For Noxus enters a new era in leadership, and we must forge new bonds accordingly. Let us learn of your blossoming influence in Zaun and the City of Progress, and how it may grow even further. Signed, Lady Elise. So, this is throwing a little bit of a wrench into what I said before. Yes, this is happening after Arcane, because it was confirmed that even Renata is a character that actually comes up in the story after Arcane. She is a new Camp Baron that pops up and Zaun is screwed once again. So there is definitely a bit of a time gap between Arcane and what's happening here. Which also means when they are talking about the new leadership, they might be teasing Swain, or maybe the Black Rose is already plotting something new. But yes, Renata is a powerful Camp Baron in Zaun, so of course the Black Rose would like to have a link to Zaun in one way or another. And once again, the one who invited Renata here is none other than Elise. But then we also get the description of Vladimir. Lord Vladimir, your presence is requested at the upcoming Silken Dance. You might consider such a gathering beneath you, or unfavorably compare them to the carousels you host. Worry not, this mask will not be an intrusion upon your territory. Our matron simply has need of your boldness to draw in new blood for our grand designs. Signed, Lady Elise. So this is interesting because this actually described what the Black Rose wants to do here. They want to recruit new people. And they even mention how Vladimir is always doing this himself. Except the catch is, when Vladimir is doing these gatherings, he is usually just getting in new children and other people that he's sacrificing for blood. There is an entire cool story about that one, including orphans. And yes, Lord Vladimir is one of the most powerful members of the Black Rose, which is why Elise thought that he wouldn't even be interested in this. But every time he appears somewhere, he can just mesmerize people. Which is what Elise meant by mentioning his boldness. It's not that he's bold. So next we also get the story of Samira. Dear Samira, in recognition of your daring feats across the Empire, we invite you to the Silken Dance. The noble houses have heard about your great potential from a trusted name in our ranks, Captain Indari. So, Desert Rose, from one fearless woman to another, you are welcome to our garden. Signed, Lady Elise. So, a super TLDR story of Samira. Samira is a mercenary in Noxus who is accepting all kinds of tasks. In fact, her agent who is getting all of these tasks is Captain Indari, a woman in a really cool wheelchair you might recognize from Legends of Runeterra. The point is, Captain Indari is directly linked to the Black Rose. So of course, it makes sense that the Black Rose knows about Samira through their agent, which is why, after being recognized as a brilliant assassin, she was invited here. Which also means that is why you have all the roses around Samira. It is partially because Samira is called the Desert Rose, but it is also because all of her weaponry is technically funded by the Black Rose. Anyway, then we also get the Katarina, which is where things get a bit different. Your mission is confirmed. Strike at the Silken Dance, the 8th night after the new moon, at the manor of House Kythera. Masquerade Ball, dress in attire of Noxian noblesse. Enclosed is an invitation and portrait of the mask. Method is yours to decide. Burn this message and hone your steel. The letter is unsigned. So, Katarina is actually here to take down the Black Rose. Specifically, she was sent here as an assassin to take down a specific person with a specific mask. If you go back to the Summoner's Rift, you might notice Katarina's blade on the table with Elise's mask next to it. So yes, there is a lot of cool hidden story here. And if you're asking who sent Katarina here, again, it kinda depends on the timeline here. But honestly, now it seems like all of this happened after Katarina's comic, and so it is extremely likely that these are Swain's orders. But this leaves us with one more skin, and that is none other than Ezreal. Greetings, Jarro Lightfeather. We cardinally invite you to the Silken Dance. Words of your heroism have reached the halls of Noxian nobility, and we are keen to meet you. We operate in the same manner, working beyond regional lines. You have much to learn about us, and we have much to learn about you, Lightfeather. Or shall we be forthright? Ezreal. Signed, Lady Elise. So, this is referencing how Ezreal is traveling all over the place. And on his journey, he never calls himself Ezreal. He made up a new name and he calls himself Jarro Lightfeather. And he usually does this to stay hidden on his adventures, such as in Demacia or, of course, in Noxus. And now we know that, of course, the Black Rose knows it's Ezreal. Now, this story description also pretty much confirmed that all of this is at least based on Canon story, because all of this is referencing Ezreal's very real lore. And that's even after Arcane retconned a piece of Piltover, because now we got a new bio for Victor, who actually named Ezreal's family. Anyway, if you go to the interactive map of Runeterra, you might find that there is a hidden feature. You can pull up special notes from special champions. For example, you can see the specific places that Ryze visited in his cinematic. In fact, you can always see the specific shots. But more importantly, there are also notes from Ezreal's adventures as he traveled around Runeterra. And here you may find how he was in the deserts and he noticed that there are desert trolls, which is hinting that Jax is actually a troll. He also has adventures around the Kumungu jungles where he met Zyra. He also got a chance to meet some Mordekaiser cultists. But of course, he also got an adventure in Noxus. And here we got an entire story that explains how the Black Rose knows about him. I'll give credit to the Noxians. They do a couple of things well. One of them is ignoring the great imposing monoliths that practically shimmer with dark energy in the heart of their capital. The other thing is tacos. I strolled the promenades around the Immortal Bastion while sampling their cuisine. Impending dread makes a great taco seasoning, I must say. I was supposed to be meeting with a new contact to collect some archival materials. She never showed, but a few shady types started following me. And one of them eventually handed me a rose paddle. You guessed it, the paddle was black. That was enough for me. Found a single black paddle every day until I made it back over the borders. One of them was at the bottom of my satchel. Omnious trip. Good tacos though. So yes, tacos are canon. But more importantly, the Black Rose was always aware of Ezreal and who he is and what he does. So it makes sense that they would be interested in the power he holds. More specifically, the glove. Maybe not Ezreal himself. So after reading this, now it should make sense why Ezreal is involved in this skin line. But most people don't know about this because, I'll be honest, yes, this story specifically is quite well hidden. But there it is, all the skins from the Season 1 of 2025 explained. Once again, take all of these skins with a pinch of salt because there are some artistic freedoms that are being taken here. Like yes, I am pretty sure Ezreal is not supposed to shoot out dark magic, but it is still cool that Riot is now giving us more skins that are pushing the story of League of Legends forward. At least, I hope that's what's happening here. Because as of right now, we still don't know the story that's gonna happen in the season. We just know it was confirmed that Riot wants to give us more canonical stories from League of Legends and that they will be included in the seasons. So who knows, maybe this means that all of these are gonna appear in the new season cinematic. Which could also means that they are here for Atakan. Wait, are they gonna summon him at the Silken Dance? That would be really cool.